Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I've taken a little dip in getting some videos released here, but it's been crazy. I'm going to try to make up for that in the next couple weeks. Get a few videos out here over the next week or two to make up for some of that lost time. But that being said, here's the first video coming back, and we're going to look at one of the best handguns ever invented. It is the epitome of all handguns, and everybody should own one. It is the Glock 17. Nah, I'm just kidding. It is a fantastic gun, but it does. It's not better than M&Ps or CZs or some of those. It is a fantastic pistol. It's been around a long time, and a lot of people know the name Glock. So I thought we'd just do a review of it. There's a lot of new people out there that are new shooters, haven't had a lot of experience, but Glock is a name that everybody knows and everybody looks at. So I thought I'd review it a little bit. This is the Gen 4 model. The only difference really is between a stock is the rear sight and front sight. They're steel sights. This was a law enforcement trade-in that I picked up a while back that already had the night sights in it, which I really liked, so I got a good deal on it, and I got the night sights that are steel, because I'm not a big fan of the plastic sights on the Glocks. You hear a lot of things back and forth. I've never had one break on me. A lot of other people have. I have not necessarily been through an abusive time with it, but at the end of the day, if I want it in a bad situation, I don't ever want the sight to break on me. I want that sight to work. I want it to have that ledge where I can put it against a belt or the back of my shoe or whatever it is. Like I've said in other videos, I think that's extremely important. And having a steel sight there to do it in an extreme situation, you could break that plastic sight off very easily. And so anyway, this is a stock Glock 17 minus those sights. But let's just do a quick review on the tabletop, go through some of the features, some of the little quick takedown on it, and let people see it. Alright, so here it is, the Glock 17. The perfection, the best handgun ever made. Well, maybe not, but it is a very good handgun. And so I thought we'd just take a little bit of a dive into it. And for those that don't know a lot about Glocks or know a lot about handguns in general, just do a quick overview of the handgun. I'll point out right off the bat that I do have replacement sights in here. These are steel night sights, so we'll address that a little bit when we get to that. But I just want to go over the gun real quick, let people take a look at it. People that aren't familiar understand a little bit about the ergonomics and some of the features of the Glock 17. Now this is the Gen 4 model. Gen 5s have since come out, but you can get a lot of these Gen 4s in the secondary market very inexpensively, used law enforcement type handguns, things like that. So it makes it for a really good deal for a very reliable handgun. Now Glocks are not perfect as much as a lot of people like to say they are. They're very good handguns, but they are very reliable, and you know, they work a lot like any of the others do, but they built their name off of the Glock perfection and the ultimate reliability. But they've had issues as well, but not to say it's not a good handgun. It's very good. It'd be sufficient for anybody that wants to use it for home defense or concealed carry. All right, so let's go through it real quick. Back to front. We'll start with, well, first we'll start with the back. Back strap and all the way around, you'll see that it is stippled with their rough textured finish, I believe it's called, the RTF finish, which is actually very nice. I actually like it quite a bit. It's better than the Gen 3 models. It gives you a little bit more stippling to get you a good grip on that gun, but it's also not too rough where it's going to bother you. It also has these finger grooves, which some people like, some people don't, but you do have the stippling in between them. I will say, when I first looked at the Glocks years ago, and they had the finger grooves on the Gen 3 models when I was looking at it, I wasn't a big fan of it when I picked it up in the shop. But when I got it out in the range and I started shooting, actually it doesn't bother me one little bit, to be quite honest. I guess on the Glock 19 it actually holds your hand in there a little tighter. Some people don't like that because of the problems you have with the knuckle hitting the bottom of the trigger guard. I've never had that problem, but it's certainly something people talk about. But the texture and the grip is very well done. Some people complain about the grip as it pertains to the angle and the fit. I'm not necessarily one way or the other. I think I take every handgun separately and I learn to shoot it separately. So whatever gun you get, try it out, see what works for you. Some people may not like it, other people will, and some people just won't care like me. It doesn't bother me either way. Alright, next up we got some slide serrations here. They're the classic Glock slide serrations, if anybody's ever seen them. They're just vertical cuts. They're okay. I mean, they're very sufficient that you can grab them and pull them. You know, if your hands are wet and things like that, it may not be perfect, but it definitely is sufficient for some kind of grip there on the back of that slide. Moving forward, we'll talk about the sights again real quick. The standard Glock sights that come in are a plastic, kind of a goalpost back sight. I'll put one in here anyway off my Glock 19 that you can take a look at. But they're plastic sights, and I'm not as big a fan of the plastic sights, but these metal sights are very good. This is a law enforcement trade-in as well, so it came with these night sights. They're not as bright, but the 3-dot sights work for me just well. So the sights that you get on the standard Glock are going to be plastic. I don't mind the goalpost versus 3-dot. It really doesn't bother me either way. They both work for me just fine, but I do like the steel sights, so if you're looking at a Glock, you may want to change that plastic sight out down the road, but just something to think about. Moving forward, we've got the slide release and the slide lock. So it's going to hold your hand, hold the slide back, and you can also release it from there, which I really like. It's very low profile, but I've never had a problem sweeping it off. They do make some extended slide releases if you want to replace that small little part. It's very easy to do. You could do that. Next, we got the magazine release. So very oversized magazine release, easy to get to with your hand. I mean, I do have larger hands, so smaller handed people may not be able to reach that as easy, but it is pretty oversized, and on the Gen 4 it is swappable, so you can make it for a lefty. On a second note on that slide release, it is not ambidextrous, so you're only looking at the right-handed model that's going to have that slide release, and you cannot swap it over. I believe the new Gen 5s do have that option, or that second slide release on the other side. So if you're looking for some in your lefty, that may be a better option for you to go look at the Gen 5 models. Next up, we got the trigger, and it's got a safety little hinge here in the middle that's going to, I don't know how well you can see it, in the back it catches on the back of the frame here. When you push this down, it actually takes the safety off. If you try to push that without depressing that center blade, it will not go. If you go with the press down, it will move that trigger for you. As far as the trigger goes, it's a very plasticky Glock trigger, no other way to say it. It's not a bad trigger. It's a defense trigger. It's perfect if you're looking for a race gun, or if you're making this a competition gun, then the trigger will probably need to be replaced. But 5.5 pound trigger just about. If you look at it, there's some take up there, little squeeze through the break. There's not like a fine wall that you're going to hit and break. It's going to pull through that wall. The reset, it's very audible, and you bring it right out there and you're right back at that little wall that's there, and then you pull it through again. So not a terrible trigger, not a again competition trigger, but if you're just looking for home defense or self-defense, the trigger is just fine. The next thing is you're going to have your takedown pins here. This will actually remove the slide so you can get inside and clean it all. Moving forward, we've got a rail here. So this is for your lights. If you have a flashlight or a laser or something you want to put on the front of this for home defense, things like that, you can put that on there. Magazines themselves are the plastic mags from Glock. They are 17 round mags. Being this is double stack handgun, you can go with any larger capacity than the 17. You can't go back to a Glock 19 magazine because it'll be too short, but anything over the 17 round mags will work. So if you have the fun mags with the 30 round, 33 round capacity, they will fit inside your Glock 17. And even though they are plastic, there is some metal inserts for the feed lips here and your sights. I do like the fact that you can see all 17 rounds, so you can at a quick glance see where you're at in round capacity. And even though they are polymer plastic, they do hold up very well, and I've never had any problem with the Glock mags. Some of the aftermarket ones may not be as good, but I can definitely say I've never had any issues with the Glock magazines. And there's a lot of other manufacturers that are actually using the Glock magazines now going forward in some of their guns, so they are inexpensive compared to other magazines, and they seem to hold up very well. Now if you want to look for a quick takedown on so you can clean this, it's very easy to do. You have these two little takedown pins here on either side. All you do is pull your slide back a hair, pull those pins down, release your slide, and pull the trigger if it's not already pulled, and then there you go, the slide comes right off. Inside you're going to see your recoil spring and guide rod. The Gen 4s have this dual recoil spring here. It's supposed to help with mitigating your recoil, but you know, there you go, it's dual springs, all captured, so you don't have to worry about a spring popping out or things like that. Once you pull that out, your barrel is just easy enough. Lift it forward a little bit, pull it out. You can get in there very easily and clean. Q-tips, cotton swabs, things like that, wipe it out. Putting it back together is just as easy. You drop your barrel in there, slide it back so you can feel it lock in. Take your guide rod and recoil spring and put them back in here in the front. In the back here, you're going to just press it a little bit to get behind the back of that lug, and there you go. Just make sure it's in line when you put it in there, and all you're going to do is slide this right back on your frame, right along those guide rails, all the way back. Let it go, and it's automatically going to latch itself back on there, and it's going to cock it so you can actually test fire. Just make sure it's clear, and you've got a working firearm again. So it's real easy to clean, real easy to take down and put back together. It's a fantastic firearm. So anyway, that's just a quick overview of the Glock 17. I know there's a ton of them out there, but you know, for those that are new shooters, this may be very helpful for you to take a look at it and maybe learn a little bit more about it. Anyway, Alright, so just a quick rundown of the Glock 17. Again, it's a fantastic utilitarian handgun. It is a no frills. It works. I will say it is very reliable. You know, Glock's not any reliable than anywhere else, and you'll hear different things from different people. I have my M&Ps, and they run just as flawlessly as my Glocks do. And, you know, they're good handguns. There's no question about it. There's a ton of aftermarket parts for them, so if you want to swap out the sights, swap out the trigger, swap out the frame, swap out the slide, whatever you want to do, there's aftermarkets for the Glocks. That's the one nice thing about Glock that has it going for it. Other than that, it's just a fantastic handgun and works reliably. So as always, if you have any questions or complaints or things that you think I should have talked about with the Glock, please put them in the comments below. It's always good to share with everybody else. If you like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Keep growing and doing more and more videos. Thanks again for everybody that has subscribed, and we'll talk to you again soon.